Weayonnoh, you've just come up on a big milestone at EPI. Can you tell us about that, please?
Yes. So I just celebrated my third year anniversary as the executive director. And that was January 18th. And I remember saying in my first 100 days, saying to myself, and I said to some friends, what have I done? Because I've been involved in justice work since I was much younger, still a girl, and I'm used to what this work is. But when I came to EPI, the intensity was at another level. The intensity of what it meant for the work we did, the influence we could have, running a small nonprofit with people who had what seemed like the weight of the world upon our shoulders to deliver was very high. And so I was nervous about whether I could meet the moment. But 3 years later, here I am, I'm still here, and I feel like I'm home. And I feel like I'm home because fighting for justice have always felt like home. And so EPI, after I've settled down, is familiar. 2025 and beyond is going to bring a whole nother level of intensity. But like I said, I'm still here. I'm still ready. I'm looking forward to doing this with the amazing team we have.
We've already seen that the policies of a second Trump administration are going to be harmful. What does courage to pursue what we believe in look like during times like these?
I think it's going to look like different things for different people. I think it's going to be different at different stages. So first, we have to give each other grace. I think courage is probably giving each other grace, not to do things the way we think is right to meet the moment. And so some of that will look like people will seek joy in their lives. To me, that's courageous. That's resistance. People will want to step away from what's going on and rest and reflect and not have to deal with the news and all of that. And that is courage because they're helping to take care of themselves. And I did that. For the last 2 months, I really tried to step away. Our team took out the last few weeks in a year to rest and reflect. And during that period of resting and stepping back from this work, I took some deep dive internal assessment of what I wanted to feel in this moment. And anytime I do that, what naturally happens for me is I go back to the beginning of when justice became my home. And so when I did that, during that time of rest, what came about was, where did justice begin for me? It began in the middle of a civil war in West Africa, Liberia, in the middle of despair. That is when I started feeling the courage to want to fight for justice. So there's this particular time during the war that have really been playing on my mind a lot when I think of what is to come. And it was a period where there was ceasefire. So it was an unexpected incident. Our home was brutally attacked by armed men in the middle of the night in December 1994. And we've been through a lot. We've been through near-death experiences. But that night, because it felt so personal, they were shooting in the neighborhood and opened our home, ran into the room where my mom and I was hiding and hit my father. I felt that was it. We were gonna die that night. And I remember saying a prayer, and I was 14. I said a final prayer, and I could actually feel my spirit leave my body, and it was like I was watching from above. And I closed my eyes just waiting for what was to come. They did what they did, ransacked it, terrorized us, and left after stealing some stuff. And life was a second chance. But after that, I begged my parents. I did not want to sleep there the next day. Everyone came after trying to figure out what was happening. And so they allowed me to stay at my oldest brother's home. So I stayed there for 2 nights because I could not see myself come back to the house. And after 2 nights, they told my brother it was time for her to come back home. And I was like, no, I can't. I just can't do it. In that moment, my parents demonstrated for me what courage was. And the reason for saying I had to come back home was, if I didn't come back to the home where I've lived since I was a baby, those attackers would have won because they took us away from our safe space. for me, they demonstrated courage in that moment. And so I went back home, and it was hard. I cried myself to sleep. I couldn't sleep. I thought, what if they come back? And what if they come back again and again? And what if that time, next time they come back, is it? But eventually, little by little, as I remained in my home, my spirit returned back to me. My zeal to fight for a life worth living, to join in a cause to fight for justice in the midst of the war, returned to me. And even though we're still in the war, I felt I won because I captured that. And so to me, that's what courage is. It's not the absence of fear. It's not the absence of uncertainty as to what will happen. It's coming home to what you know, to what you stand for. That is courage. And so when I look at the commitment of the Economic Progress Institute, when I look at the commitment of our friends and community partners and legislators who believe in justice, fighting, that is courage to me. When I look at our commitment to fighting for equity despite the attacks, that is justice and courage to me. When I look at our commitment to racial justice in this moment, that is courage. And so I am glad that we understand it, that no matter what it is, there's a lot of uncertainty. But we're going to come home because attacks don't get to win. We do when we are courageous.
Do you have a message for EPI's partners and advocates going into this year?
I think so. I think in this moment, we're all looking for hope. And so even beyond our partners, I think there are communities that are under attack right now. And to them, I say, we are here with you. And then we have what I like to refer to as social justice warriors. They are the community groups that are coming together and saying, we are in this fight. There are policymakers. There's actually, local policymakers, national policymakers that are saying, we're not just going to stop what we're doing. We're not just going to sit and let everything go on and rights being terminated. And so to them, I say, again, take time for yourself. Do what you need to do to care for self, to enjoy your family. But then I hope you'll come back home. To them, I say, there are those who are tired of fighting. There are those who feel no matter how much they try, there are people who continue to create systems that breaks down their spirit, that takes away their right, and they're tired. And today I say, rest, but please come back home. And the reason it's important that we come back home, like 14-year-old Weayonnoh came back home, was because if we don't, they win. And so I want us in this moment to remember that the fight to make sure people have enough to feed their families is home. I would like them to remember that the fight to make sure civil rights are not taken away is home. I would like for them to remember that the fight to make sure there is respect and dignity for the diverse communities we have all over this country is home. I want them to remember that justice and freedom and that promise that all of us are we the people, that all of us have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is home. So do what you need to do to take care of yourself, but come back. And come back and let's do this together. Because when we do, we win.